I need to tell you the truth. As a doctor, I get approached all the time by bone broth powder companies. They offer sponsorships, partnerships, even big money deals to promote their products in my clinic. They want me to sit here and tell you that bone broth is a miracle cure, that their powders will save your joints and rebuild your muscles overnight. But I've refused every single one of them. Why? Because I've seen what really happens when seniors make mistakes with bone broth, and it's not the fairy tale they want you to believe. Bone broth is a trillion-dollar market. It's exported, marketed, and sold with glossy promises and celebrity endorsements. The industry makes massive profits while seniors are left believing they're drinking liquid gold. But the truth is darker. Bone broth is powerful, yes, but when it's prepared wrong, stored wrong, or consumed the wrong way, it can quietly poison you. I've treated patients who thought they were healing their bodies with broth, only to end up in the ER with kidney damage, blood pressure spikes, or infections that nearly killed them. And here's the part no sponsor wants me to say. It's not bone broth itself that's the problem. It's the mistakes, the shortcuts, the things no label or powder company will ever warn you about because warning you doesn't make them money. That's why in this video, I'm exposing the 6 deadliest mistakes seniors make with bone broth. Ranked from number 6 to number 1, each one is backed by real science and real stories. And you must stick around for number 2, because almost every senior makes this mistake, and research shows it can silently destroy your bones and muscles while you think you're healing them. And before we dive in, don't just watch. Comment below, how old are you and when is your next birthday? Seniors from all over the world are already sharing their experiences, and we're reading and replying to every single one. Don't miss adding your voice to this community. Now let's start at number 6. And already, you'll see why your health may be slipping away faster than you think. Number 6. Using low-quality bones. One of the most fatal mistakes seniors make with bone broth is starting with the wrong bones. Not all bones are created equal. Cheap, factory-farmed, or conventionally raised animal bones often carry antibiotics, hormones, and heavy metals that get pulled out during the simmering process. What you think is a healing broth could actually become a toxic cocktail. Science proves the risk. A study in medical hypotheses measured bone broth made from conventionally raised chickens and found detectable levels of lead, a toxic heavy metal linked to kidney damage, high blood pressure, and neurological decline. Seniors are especially vulnerable because their detox systems, like the liver and kidneys, don't work as efficiently as they once did. Even small amounts of lead build up over time, leading to fatigue, memory loss, and brittle bones. Meet Margaret, 72. She started drinking homemade bone broth daily after seeing an article about its benefits for arthritis. She bought cheap beef bones from a discount grocery store and simmered them into soup every night. Within months, she noticed worsening joint pain, fatigue, and frequent headaches. After a routine checkup, her doctor found elevated lead levels in her blood. She was stunned. The very food she thought would heal her joints had been slowly poisoning her body. The solution is clear. Only use bones from grass-fed, pasture-raised, or organic animals. These sources are far less likely to carry dangerous residues or heavy metals. Always ask your butcher where the bones come from, and avoid buying bulk bags of soup bones from unknown sources. Seniors should be especially cautious, because your body doesn't have the same resilience to filter toxins as it once did. A younger person might handle small exposures, but at 60, 70, or 80, the damage adds up quickly. Bone broth can be a healing powerhouse, but only if you build it from clean, high-quality bones. If you cut corners here, you're turning a health habit into a toxic threat. But while poor quality bones can poison you slowly, the next mistake is even more dangerous, because it can hit you hard in just a single serving. Number 5. Using only chicken bones without joints or skin. Another dangerous mistake seniors make with bone broth is using only plain chicken bones, without including the joints, cartilage, or skin. It seems harmless. After all, bones are bones, right? But here's the problem. Most of the healing compounds in bone broth don't come from the hard bone itself. They come from the connective tissues, the joints, tendons, ligaments, and skin that break down during simmering and release collagen, gelatin, and amino acids like glycine and proline. When you make broth using only stripped bones, what you end up with is a weak, watery soup that's missing the very nutrients your aging muscles, joints, and gut desperately need. Seniors especially lose out because after 60, collagen production in the body drops dramatically. That's why skin wrinkles, joints ache, and muscles weaken. Without collagen-rich broth, your body doesn't get the building blocks to repair connective tissue, leaving you vulnerable to sarcopenia, arthritis, and digestive issues. Science backs this up. A study published in Current Medical Research and Opinion found that collagen supplementation improved joint function and reduced pain in seniors with osteoarthritis by over 40% within just 6 months. Another trial showed collagen peptides boosted lean muscle mass in older adults when combined with light exercise. That means broth made without connective tissues misses out on one of the most powerful anti-aging nutrients available. Meet Richard, 70. He started making chicken broth every week, carefully boiling leftover bones from his dinners. He thought he was doing something good for his joints, but over time, his knee pain worsened, and he felt no real difference. His daughter, a nutrition student, pointed out that he was using only stripped bones with no joints or skin. Once he switched to adding chicken feet, wings, and even leftover skin, his broth turned thicker, gelled when cooled, and within weeks, his morning stiffness started to ease. He finally felt the results he'd been missing. The solution is simple. When making broth, always include joint-heavy parts like chicken feet, wings, or necks, along with some skin. These parts are loaded with collagen and gelatin that give bone broth its restorative power. If you rely only on bare bones, you're sipping flavored water instead of a muscle and joint healing tonic. A broth without joints is like building a house without bricks. It looks complete, but it collapses under pressure. And while this mistake weakens your broth, the next one is even riskier, because it doesn't just reduce nutrients, it can flood your body with dangerous amounts of sodium in a single bowl. Number 4. Cooking it for too short a time. Bone broth isn't just soup. It's a slow extraction of nutrients from bones, cartilage, and marrow. That's why one of the most dangerous mistakes seniors make is cooking it for too short a time. A quick boil, or just a couple of hours on the stove, won't release the collagen, amino acids, or minerals that make bone broth powerful. What you're left with is cloudy water with flavor, but none of the healing benefits your body needs after 60. Here's the science. A study in food and nutrition research measured nutrient release from bones over different cooking times. It found that broth simmered for less than 4 hours had only 25% of the gelatin and collagen content compared to broth simmered for 12 to 24 hours. Another report showed that calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus, all critical for bone density and muscle contraction, dramatically increased the longer the broth cooked. For seniors who already absorb fewer minerals with age, cutting corners on cooking time means you're robbing your body of the very fuel it needs to stay strong. Meet Alice, 69. She loved the idea of bone broth, but didn't have the patience to let it simmer. She would boil chicken bones for 2 hours, strain it, and sip it every morning. Months went by, but she felt no change in her joint pain or energy. One day, her neighbor suggested she try simmering her broth overnight in a slow cooker. The difference was shocking. Her broth turned rich, gelatinous, and thick, and within a few weeks, Alice noticed her morning stiffness easing and her digestion improving. She realized she hadn't been making bone broth at all, just bone-flavored soup. The solution is straightforward. If you want the benefits, you need time. Simmer chicken bones for at least 12 hours and beef or pork bones for 18 to 24 hours. A slow cooker or instant pot can make this easier and safer, especially for seniors who don't want to leave a stove on overnight. Remember, the nutrients you're after, collagen, glycine, minerals, don't release quickly. They require patience. A broth that's cooked too short is like a check that bounces. It looks good on the surface, but it delivers nothing. And while missing nutrients is a big problem, the next mistake is even more alarming because it doesn't just waste benefits. It can actively damage your health by loading your body with dangerous contaminants. But before we continue, if you have been enjoying the video so far, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss more videos like this. Number 3. not skimming the fat or foam. When you simmer bones for hours, fat and foam rise to the surface. Many seniors make the mistake of leaving it there, thinking it's all part of the nutrition. But here's the problem. That layer isn't just harmless broth fat. It often contains oxidized fats, impurities, and proteins that can irritate the gut, raise inflammation, and even increase cholesterol levels when consumed daily. For seniors already dealing with weaker digestion and higher cardiovascular risk, ignoring this step can quietly turn a healing drink into a harmful one. The science supports it. Research in the Journal of Food Science found that skimming fat during cooking significantly reduced levels of oxidized lipids in broth. These compounds are linked to arterial plaque buildup and higher heart disease risk. Another study showed that unskimmed broths contained up to 30% more inflammatory byproducts compared to carefully skimmed versions. That extra load of bad fat might not matter to a 25-year-old athlete, but to someone over 60 with aging arteries, it's a dangerous gamble. Meet Gerald, 74. He prided himself on making big batches of bone broth and drinking a mug every morning. But he never bothered skimming the fat. After several months, he noticed his cholesterol levels creeping up, even though he hadn't changed his diet otherwise. His doctor warned him about his rising cardiovascular risk. Gerald's daughter, who loved cooking, showed him how to skim the fat and foam off during simmering and chill the broth so the hardened fat could be lifted away. Within a few months, his cholesterol dropped back down, and his morning broth was doing what it was supposed to, healing, not harming. The fix is simple but essential. As broth simmers, use a spoon to skim off the foam and floating fat regularly. Once it's cooled, refrigerate it and remove the hardened fat cap before reheating. This not only makes the broth healthier, but it also improves the flavor, leaving it cleaner and less greasy. Seniors who are sensitive to digestion issues or watching their heart health will especially notice the difference. Bone broth should repair your body, not weigh it down. Leaving the foam and fat in is like adding sludge to your fuel tank. It clogs the system. And while that's dangerous enough, the next mistake is even worse, because it doesn't just affect your heart. It can overwhelm your kidneys and silently drain your health with every sip. Number 2. Adding too much salt or seasoning. Bone broth is naturally rich in minerals, but one of the most common and dangerous mistakes seniors make is adding way too much salt or heavy seasoning. Many people believe broth should taste bold and salty, like store-bought soups. But here's the hidden danger. Most seniors are already struggling with high blood pressure, kidney strain, or heart issues. Adding excess sodium to a daily broth routine can quietly push those conditions over the edge. The numbers are frightening. According to the American Heart Association, 77% of seniors already consume more sodium than recommended. High sodium intake is directly linked to increased risk of stroke, heart failure, and kidney disease. A study in hypertension found that reducing sodium intake by just 1,000 milligrams per day lowered stroke risk by 21%. Now imagine the opposite, adding thousands of extra milligrams every time you sip your broth. What was supposed to be healing suddenly becomes a daily attack on your arteries. Meet Joan, 71. She had been drinking homemade bone broth every night, but she always added bouillon cubes and lots of seasoning for flavor. After a few months, she noticed her ankles swelling and her blood pressure rising, even though she hadn't changed her diet otherwise. At her doctor's appointment, tests revealed her sodium levels were dangerously high, stressing both her kidneys and heart. Joan was shocked when her doctor explained that her healthy bone broth was overloaded with hidden sodium. Once she cut back on salt and swapped in fresh herbs like parsley and thyme for flavor, her blood pressure dropped, the swelling eased, and she was finally able to enjoy broth without fear. The solution is simple. Keep seasoning light and natural. Fresh herbs, garlic, ginger, or a splash of lemon can add rich flavor without piling on sodium. And if you really want salt, add just a pinch at the end instead of loading it in from the start. This way, you keep control over how much you consume. Seniors need to remember, your taste buds dull slightly with age, so you may add more salt without even realizing it. But your heart, kidneys, and arteries feel every grain. Bone broth should be a medicine, not a hidden salt bomb. And while sodium is dangerous, it's not the deadliest mistake. The final one on this list is even more shocking because almost every senior makes it, and it can quietly undo everything you thought bone broth was helping you achieve. Number 1. Storing it too long in the fridge. The single most dangerous mistake seniors make with bone broth is storing it too long in the fridge. Because broth looks and smells fine for days, many assume it's safe. But the truth is, bacteria like Clostridium perfringens and Listeria can grow even at refrigerator temperatures. For younger people, a mild stomach upset might be the worst outcome. But for seniors with weaker immune systems, foodborne illness can escalate quickly into dehydration, kidney damage, or bloodstream infections that can be fatal. The science is sobering. The CDC warns that seniors are 4 times more likely to die from foodborne illness than younger adults. And in studies of homemade broth, bacterial growth was detected in as little as 3 to 4 days in standard refrigeration. That means every day beyond that window, the risk rises dramatically, even if the broth still looks perfectly safe. Meet Helen, 75. She loved making large pots of bone broth and keeping them in her fridge all week. She reheated a bowl every evening, believing it was strengthening her joints. But one night, after drinking broth that had been in the fridge for 6 days, she woke with severe stomach cramps and vomiting. At the hospital, doctors diagnosed her with food poisoning caused by bacteria that had grown in her broth. What seemed like a healthy nightly ritual nearly cost her life. The fix is simple but life-saving. Refrigerated bone broth should be consumed within 48 to 72 hours. If you make a big batch, divide it into smaller containers and freeze what you can't finish right away. Frozen broth can last for months without losing its nutrients or flavor, and it's easy to reheat single portions when needed. Seniors especially should never push it with leftovers. Your body isn't as resilient as it once was. What you think is saving time or money could be costing your health. Storing broth too long is like playing roulette with your health. You won't know the bullet's there until it's too late. And if you think that's dramatic, remember for seniors, the risk is real. Bone broth can be one of the most healing foods you'll ever drink, but only if you respect its power and its dangers. So, there you have it, the 6 deadly mistakes seniors make with bone broth. Each one seems small on its own, but together they can turn a healing superfood into a hidden danger. Using low-quality bones risks toxic metals. Skipping joints or skin robs you of collagen. Cooking too short leaves you with nothing but flavored water. Not skimming the fat overloads your arteries. Adding too much salt silently attacks your heart and kidneys. And the number 1 mistake, storing it too long, can make every sip a deadly gamble. The truth is, bone broth can transform your health if you make it correctly. It can protect your joints, fuel your muscles, heal your gut, and give you energy you thought you lost years ago. But only if you avoid these mistakes. Now I want to hear from you. Do you drink bone broth? And have you ever made one of these mistakes without realizing it? Drop your answer in the comments. I read and reply to every single one. And don't forget to hit subscribe. Every week, we bring you science-backed senior health tips to help you stay strong, independent, and full of life. Stay safe, stay strong, and keep your broth healing, not harming. If you've got any questions or thoughts, drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching.